Now let's dive into the Olympics. For the uninitiated, the rescheduled 2020 Tokyo Olympics will now be taking place starting July 21st. The United States women's national soccer team was put into Group G, along with Australia, New Zealand, and Sweden. The U.S. lost to Sweden during the 2016 Olympics in the quarterfinals on penalty kicks. So, my first question to the two of you is, with the rematch between the U.S. and Sweden and the 2016 gold medalists Germany failing to qualify, what storyline is most intriguing to you?
Well, I think you cannot miss the history between the U.S. and Sweden here. I mean, they met in 2016, and we know that that wasn't pretty. Obviously, as you said, Sweden had defeated the U.S. on penalties in the quarterfinals. They handed the U.S. their first Olympic loss in 16 years in that one and kept them from reaching the gold medal match for the first time since the debut of the sport in the Olympics. And comments were made, that was not pretty. And so I think with all that charged energy here, the U.S. women's team is definitely setting out to get a little bit of revenge, but also make some history here by being the first team to win the Olympic gold after winning the World Cup. And having to do that against Sweden, I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
I definitely look forward to this rematch as well. Revenge is definitely on the mind of the U.S. National Women's Soccer team. When you have a bad loss like that in 2016 like they did, and especially having to wait an extra year because of the COVID pandemic, the Olympics were pushed back a year, so they had an extra year with that tough loss on their mind, and it should be a great storyline to watch, and I could definitely see the U.S. With all the revenge on their mind and the momentum from winning the 2019 World Cup coming away victorious in that one.
So the U.S. is in Group G, as I mentioned, but now do you think Group F, containing Brazil, China, the Netherlands, and Zambia, or Group E, made up of Canada, Chile, Great Britain, and Japan, will feature the better matches?
Well, you know, I'm going to have to go with Group F here, and the answer is not as elaborate as you'd think. It's really just because I want to see Brazil. You know, Brazil always puts up a great fight. They've won the most soccer World Cups of all time with 5, going all the way back to the 50s. And, you know, that might seem like, you know, not a fitting answer, but who doesn't want to watch Brazil?
I definitely have to agree with Juliana there. Brazil is basically associated with soccer. You know, you have baseball with Japan, American football with the United States, and Brazil soccer. It's kind of that association. They're always a fun team to watch. The Netherlands as well is also a very solid team, and I definitely want to see that group play, and especially because of Brazil. Any group that they're in, it makes that group take the cake.
Now, we've talked about the World Cup and some of the winning that teams have done in that tournament, but Olympic gold has only been won by 3 U.S. women's teams, or 3 women's teams, the U.S. and then 2 European teams, Norway and Germany. This year, only 2 European teams qualified, so is this the year that the field claims gold over Europe and the U.S.?
Well, I'm definitely going to have to say in terms of the U.S. that I know we spoke a lot about the revenge game here, but I think I might have to count them out in this one, and that's just because, you know, Sweden has given them an absolute run for their money, especially when Coach Konefsky took charge for the U.S. They nearly blew a 3-0 lead to Sweden in Konefsky's debut as the coach, and then 2 weeks ago, Sweden was minutes away from ending the U.S.'s unbeaten run, but was forced to settle for a draw in that one, and so I think it's going to be extremely challenging for them, and for that reason, I'm going to have to count the U.S. out.
I have to disagree because I think that the U.S. has the momentum riding in from winning the World Cup a couple of years ago, and I think that they're a lot better off now. I think that they're healthier. I think that they still have that game on their mind, especially because Megan Rapinoe was kind of banged up, didn't have her best performance in that game, but players like her and other women on the team are definitely going to try to come together and win the gold medal for the U.S., and I think that it's honestly theirs to lose.
Now, we could talk about soccer all night long, but there are also going to be 6 new sports at the Olympics this year. Baseball and softball will be returning, and 4 sports will be making their Olympic debuts this summer. So, out of those 4, skateboarding, surfing, sport climbing, and karate, which one are you most looking forward to?
Well, I know for me, it's definitely skateboarding. I mean, I used to watch the X Games as a kid. I had every single Tony Hawk video game. I just have been always a huge fan of skateboarding. And, you know, not even aside from my own love for it, I think that putting it in the Olympics can change the perception a bit of the sport, take it out of this kind of view of it as a recreational hobby or a street game, and give it kind of some notoriety and respect that it deserves. And it might draw in some new viewership as well, as a lot of millennials have gotten on board with skateboarding. So I'm excited to see what it adds to the games.
I'm excited to see karate. I remember growing up when I was 10 or 11 years old, the Karate Kid movie with Jaden Smith came out. Of course, there's the one that was made all the way back in the 80s, and those Karate Kid movies were great to watch, and I'm really looking forward to watching karate on a grand stage like the Olympics.